This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We are learning more about a man charged in a deadly mass shooting that recently killed 4 people and seriously injured another in Winnipeg. Jamie Felix was charged last week with 4 counts of second-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Court documents from earlier this year reveal Felix has a history of psychotic episodes. CBC's Caitlin Gowerluck has more and a warning some of the details might be distressing.
Psychosis, substance abuse, and a seizure disorder. Those are just some of the details revealed through court documents about a man now charged in a deadly mass shooting. Those documents say Jamie Felix was also diagnosed with alcohol use disorder and that he was exposed to what he called the gang lifestyle during his childhood. They also outline how those challenges led to an incident last year where Felix attempted suicide while in a psychotic state. He's now charged in a shooting on Winnipeg's Langside Street in the early hours of Sunday, November 26th. A 55-year-old man remains in hospital in serious condition. The shooting claimed the lives of Malelek Lesikel, Dylan Lavallee, and sisters Crystal and Stephanie Beardy. Autumn Beardy says she's known Felix for over a decade. She says he was always trying to get better and just finished addictions treatment this summer. But he was just never able to get the help he needed for his mental health.
I think he really just slipped through the cracks because I know that it's hard to get the right diagnosis or a diagnosis by somebody who cares. It's just very hard when you're not mentally well and you're not completely stable.
Beardy says December is always a hard time for Felix. It's his birthday month, which he shared with his twin brother, who was murdered in 2012. Beardy says he was just never the same after his brother's death. Felix is now scheduled to appear in court next week. Caitlin Gowerluck, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Last month, we brought you the story of a man living in a shack he built beside a Winnipeg creek. Within a day, outreach workers had found the man a furnished apartment to move into. CBC's Cameron McLean caught up with him to find out how he's adjusting to his new life.
And it's really bright.
Yeah, southern exposure, so I can have all the plants I want in here. Mostly greens, herbs. Nothing started yet. I just planted 2 days ago. So
it's been a little more than 2 weeks since Bill Pajak and his dog Gabby moved into this apartment in Fort Rouge. It's a long way from the shack he built next to Omans Creek in November.
Gabby's a good girl.
After CBC's story was published, he says he received an outpouring of support.
Within 2 days, my whole life changed. Not just had an apartment, but I had furniture. And all this was donated to me from people online, family members and other people that wanted to help.
Pajak lost his job as a trucker last year due to health problems. After ending up on the street, he decided to build a shack on Omans Creek near Polo Park Mall using wood and cardboard.
Nothing come through my door since I fixed.
He used those same skills to fix some maintenance issues in his new apartment.
The strike plate here, there was no strike plate. This trim wasn't here. The stoop, there was no stoop, so the bugs and rodents could just come under the door and stuff.
Going from the shack to the apartment took some adjustment.
I felt very secure in my shack because I didn't have any neighbors and I was off kind of by myself. I always have a little trouble getting used to a new place, so I'm certainly feeling a lot more comfortable now.
Pajak was helped by the outreach team with St. Boniface Street Links. An initial plan to house him at a different building fell through after the owner found out he had a dog. StreetLinks founder Marian Willis and her team had to scramble to find alternative arrangements.
It's not so simple as just, finding somebody a place and saying, well, here's the keys to your place. It is about really understanding who the person is and understanding what they need.
Pajak hopes to eventually move out to a farm where he can help other people who have experienced homelessness start a new life.
There's people all over the city. There's, you go over the Osborne Bridge, you can see camps by the river. There's a lot of people that need to get indoors.
For now, he and Gabby have found a home. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A big question is hanging over Manitoba's government. How will the province dig itself out of a deficit it says is $1.6 billion? Today, the Premier provided a small tease on what to expect. For more, we're joined now by the CBC's Ian Fraze. Ian, What will the province do?
Premier Wabkanu is going to save some of those details for next week, he says, but he believes the province can find savings.
In some areas, we're looking at lapsed funds, which is, again, government has, because of vacant positions or initiatives that didn't get off the ground, we're able just to pull those initiatives back. In other areas, it has to do with commitments that were made, which the legwork was never done to be able to deliver on.
They're saying vacancies and not doing some projects. Well, what does that mean? Do parents have to worry about their children not going to a school that was promised? Do parents have to worry about childcare spots? Are they going to cut the arts, culture, and sport and community fund that was oversubscribed by hundreds of millions of dollars? These are real needs in our community.
The PCs continue to accuse the government of inflating this deficit number to try to make the province's finances look worse than they are.
Now, Ian, another question raised today. Have we seen former Premier Heather Stefanson in question period for the last time? She promised to stay on until the rules for the next PC leadership race are worked out, but that could be settled well before the legislature sits again in March. So, Ian, what's the latest?
Well, Heather Stefanson isn't speaking on that subject. It is customary, though, for political leaders to provide a bit of a farewell speech before they say goodbye to office. Stefanson did not do that today, only offering a season's greetings during her member's statement. The only person to acknowledge that this could be one of Stefanson's final days and question period is her replacement.
I do want to point out that it seems as though this may be one of the last times that we hear from the member for Tuxedo here in the chamber. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank her for her service and, of course, to wish her well in whatever comes next.
I don't think the Premier of the province will decide when our leader decides to move on to the next chapter of her life.
The rules for the PC leadership race will be voted on by delegates in January. Again, we do not know how much longer Stefanson may remain as leader.
And finally, the NDP government wanted to pass 3 bills before the winter break begins. Late this afternoon, they officially became law. So, Ian, again, remind us what they are.
Well, a major one is temporarily eliminating the gas tax. That will start in January and last for at least 6 months. Again, that tax for most fuels is around 14 cents a liter. Another law, Orange Shirt Day, will become a statutory holiday in the province. That will be marked at the end of September every year. And finally, Métis leader Louis Riel will be recognized as Manitoba's honorary first premier. Marjorie.
Thank you very much, Ian. That is CBC's Ian Fraze reporting live tonight. Winnipeg police have charged a basketball referee in a series of sexual incidents dating back to 2010. Police say another ref told officers that he was in an office with the accused between 2010 and 2011 when the accused started speaking to him in a sexual manner and committed an indecent act in front of him. A second referee reported the accused sexually assaulted him twice in 2020 when alone with the accused. Both told police they felt their reffing careers were in jeopardy, so the incidents weren't reported until this year. Police say both were over 18 at the time. 42-year-old Michael Shane Merrick has been charged with 2 counts of sexual assault and a count of indecent exposure. Manitoba First Nation leaders are on Parliament Hill today calling on the federal government to build an airport and all-weather road to Wasagamack. It's currently only accessible by boat, winter road, or helicopter. Grand Chief Scott Harper represents the region. He says the federal government has been promising permanent infrastructure for years.
There was a forest fire that came near the community where they had to evacuate most of the community. And without an airport and without a way of transporting, and the only way they do it is by boat. So even at night, it's, to me, that is something that's very serious and very important.
Harper says Wasagamack can't do it alone and needs provincial and federal help. It is a special day for the Jewish community. Zabina Ahmed is at a special ceremony at the Manitoba Legislative Building.
It's sundown and Hanukkah, the 8-day Jewish festival of lights, officially begin. I'm here inside the Manitoba Legislative Building where the public menorah lighting will be held. Premier Wab Kanu will be lighting the candle amongst others from the community. This will be followed by some prayers, some speeches from the community, as well as playing the Hanukkah music and serving the traditional donuts. Now, amid the heightened tensions of the Israel-Hamas conflict, the Hanukkah is being held. There's a somber mood in the community. This Hanukkah will also have a week-long celebration. There will be a grand car menorah parade to wrap up the festival. Zubina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Colder weather is in the forecast, but today Winnipeggers saw spring-like weather. Matt Humphrey has more on how people are reacting to the lack of snow and ice.
A lot of the kids are calling already, you know, and they want to know, is the rink ready? Is the rink ready?
In the 10 years David D'Souza has run the Tyndall Park Community Center, he's never seen weather like this. It's so warm, he's getting anxious about opening the outdoor rink.
It's a busy hub here in the winter. You know, we have a lot of kids that don't necessarily play organized hockey because they can't afford it, just the demographics of our area. So them coming here is it's a way to get away. It's to socialize with their friends, come to a warm place, skate with their friends, and just be free. So I mean, it's really missed right now.
Maintaining the rinks is a passion project for D'Souza. He takes pride in offering a gathering place during the colder months.
We have a lot of newcomers here, so a lot of them don't even know what hockey is or have never skated before. So we usually offer a free-to-learn skate program here, starting in January, and I'm hoping it'll start again. I don't know.
The program normally sees dozens of children using this space, but things are taking a bit longer to get going this time around. Meanwhile, the ski season has been put on hold. Rob Massey runs Olympia Cycle and Ski. He's seeing the weather affect his business.
We've, of course, come through a number of years where cross-country ski materials were in high demand. So this year is a little bit of an adjustment. We're all still waiting for snow, and as you can see behind me, then we're ready for the snow.
But it's not all bad news. Lots of people are enjoying the warm weather.
I'm very happy about it. I mean, I hate the snow, but I mean, I love skiing and I love snowboarding, so.
It's nice, actually, summer, right? So it's so nice, actually, to be honest. Yeah, everyone love it. So we're surprised, actually, because look at that. It's so beautiful, actually, outside.
Well, I'm walking more, which is nice. I like to walk every day, so I'm able to take longer walks because it's so nice out, which is nice.
Golly, nothing quite as good as a cold drink on a warm day. And this unseasonably warm spring-like weather we're enjoying is very different than last year. Exactly 1 year ago today, Winnipeggers were dealing with a daytime high of around minus 18 degrees. Matt Humphrey, CBC News, Winnipeg.
I think Matt's enjoying covering that story just a little too much. But I mean, good for him. He's taking advantage of this weather. And I mean, this weather, again, breaking records, John.
Breaking records. And yesterday we talked about broken records as well. And not in Winnipeg, but today we did break a record. And we broke it early, just before you went on the air for Radio Noon at lunchtime. So, yeah, here's a look at some of those records. And we start at the top of the list with Winnipeg. And it was, well, 5.6 was the old record. And just before Marjorie went on the air on Radio Noon, it was 5.7. So we eventually got to at least 7.5 degrees. That number may change a little bit once all the facts are in. And Victoria Beach broke a record from 2015. That was that El Nino year, the last one that was really strong. We had a broken record in Swan River by a couple of degrees. Not that old, though, only a few years old. And then Pilot Mound broke a record from 2015, and Oak Point Marine, 4.7 today. The old record was 2.4, set about 24 years ago. We're still at 5 degrees. Wow, so it is very warm, even moving into the evening hours, and this is all ahead of a low. Now, it's kind of strange, I must admit, to be talking about record highs And I'm about to show you a snowfall warning that's in effect at the same time, and a freezing rain warning. It's been in effect pretty much the same regions all day today. The white shaded area you see here is the snowfall warning, and that's talking about 10 to 15 centimeters of snow by this time tomorrow. And the freezing rain warning is up near the Pas. So the freezing rain has already been happening in that region of the province and will likely be lifted tonight later on in the evening as some of that changes over into snow. Satellite radar, well, you can see lots of cloud, but this is what's falling out of the cloud, and it is all liquid at this point. The pink you see here in northwestern Ontario is likely a little bit of that freezing rain, and we get a little hint of that just on the eastern side of the Riding Mountains. So we've seen some rain on and off through the day today in Dauphin, Wasagamack, now Brandon picking up some light showers. And all of this makes the change over to snow as we head into the overnight period. And that's where I stop you, right here at 1:30, the center of the low, right over, I'd say, Morden. The blue and the pink, that is that transitional zone between the rain and the snow, and the darker blue is rain, the white is snow. And by the time we get into first thing in the morning, areas like Dauphin, not so much Swan River, but Brandon, Verdun, down into Boissevain, into that heavy, wet, slushy snow. That's 7 o'clock in the morning. Then we move on into the afternoon. The center of the low is off over Ontario, and the rest of the southeast and the Red River Valley, including Winnipeg, is into the more intense snowfall. And I think in Winnipeg, likely around 5 centimeters, but up to 10. So 5 to 10 centimeters possible. And then we get into Saturday and we are cloudy, still windy and colder. So some of that snow is going to be blowing around. Even on Friday evening, as the cold front goes through, winds are gusting to 60, temperatures are falling, and the snow may be heavy enough at times to reduce visibility. So these are the amounts up to midnight Friday. And you can see that after that, not much happening in Manitoba as far as additional snow. So it should be pretty much done by that time. Watch for the brighter colors moving from west to east. These are the heavier winds. The gusts are on the right in yellow, so 52, 54, and then on into the afternoon and evening hours, we see gusts that are more like 60 or even 65 on Friday evening. Tonight's low -1, showers. There is a risk of freezing rain overnight. Wet flurries changing to snow through the day tomorrow. Very windy, a high of +1, but that temperature will fall in the evening as the cold front goes through. Still windy Saturday, and you can see it's much cooler on the weekend, but a little bit warmer, Marjorie, on Monday, and there's a chance of a flurry on Monday at -2.
All right. Thank you very much, John.
You're welcome.
Turning a tragic loss into joy for children with cancer. It's a tradition now for Beverly Grant to decorate her Windsor Park yard with inflatables and lights for Christmas. She collects toys for the cancer ward at Children's Hospital after her 7-month-old granddaughter died of a rare form of leukemia. Grant wants to do something joyful for children who are in hospital over the holidays.
Hi, I'm Beverly Grant, and my address is 79 Heather Road. It takes about 2 days. My husband does most of it because he does all the heavy lifting, and I just situate everything. My inspiration comes from my granddaughter, Emily. We do this yard in her memory. In 2017, she was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer at 7 months old. And December 3rd, 2017, she passed away from cancer. We do a memorial toy drive in her honor every year. This is our 7th year doing it. People come and they look at our yard and they bring a toy and they drop it in the sleigh that's just in my front porch. We collect all these toys and we give them back to the hospital for the children that are still in the hospital fighting the fight. And it's a wonderful gift for them on Christmas morning when they may not have a great memory of the holiday season. We try to provide them with that little bit of happiness. The community has been so supportive of what we do. awesome to see the people coming by and donating a toy. And, you know, if they can't donate a toy for whatever reason, just coming up and saying, you know, we really like what you're doing and you're doing it for such a good cause. It makes us feel good and it makes us remember our granddaughter. Well, everybody, you gotta come down and see Emily's yard. We love what we do and we want to share it with everybody. We do want you to come down to 79 Heather Road and 81 Heather Road. Take a look at our yard and enjoy yourself and have a very Merry Christmas.
In Ottawa, the election for a new national chief of the Assembly of First Nations is now over. After a grueling 6-ballot contest, it came down to 2 candidates. That story is coming up. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Manitoba's Cindy Woodhouse has been chosen the national chief of the Assembly of First Nations. The convention balloting was drawn out. She takes the post amid calls for unity. Olivia Stefanovich reports.
Well, after several rounds of ballots, we now have a new national chief of the Assembly of First Nations, Cindy Woodhouse, who was, up until today, Manitoba's regional chief for the AFN. Woodhouse is from Penamutang First Nation in Manitoba, and she's now the third female national chief of the Assembly, after interim national chief Joanna Bernard and Roseanne Archibald, who was ousted from the top job after misconduct allegations. Now, Woodhouse was part of the executive committee that recommended Archibald's removal, and Woodhouse, in her victory speech, lifted up Archibald and commended her for breaking the glass ceiling. Now, this wasn't easy for Woodhouse to become the national chief of the Assembly of First Nations. It was a battle between her and her opponent, David Pratt, the first vice chief of the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations from Saskatchewan. Pratt refused to concede last night after he was trailing in the ballots behind Woodhouse. But the reason why Woodhouse couldn't win is because she didn't have the 60% needed of votes to become the next national chief, which is required by the AFN's charter. And the only reason why voting ended last night is because this convention center that we're standing in actually had to shut down at midnight. So voting continued this morning, but the ballots were destroyed after an agreement was made between Woodhouse's team and Pratt's team. Pratt conceded. He told the Assembly that he made this decision so there could be unity at the AFN, and this will be Woodhouse's challenge moving forward. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
Battles raged across Gaza today. In the south, residents reported airstrikes and tank fire. And further south, at least one strike hit a presumed safe area. With almost 2 million people displaced, there are fears Gaza's aid crisis could soon turn deadly as well. CBC's Evan Dyer reports.
Displaced father Zakaria Rehan says he has no food to give his children. Even the baby bottle is just a spoonful of powder mixed with water to fool the baby into thinking it's milk. He says he can see his children growing thinner. Yosra Al-Deeb scraped together enough food to cook her children a meal, but she says this will be all they get. Hungry and dehydrated, she says her children are getting sick. With Israel bombing all across Gaza, the flow of aid has all but stopped.
There is no possibility of doing meaningful humanitarian action, so the risks are very high, and the people are piling up in the little sliver of land between Khan Yunis and the Rafah borders.
Aid groups say the few safe zones designated by Israel are barren areas of sand without shelter, food, or water, and aren't even really safe from bombing.
Oxfam is a humanitarian organization. We're in the business of responding to people's urgent needs, not used to being targeted as, our staff are being targeted in Gaza today.
Rabon says more than half of Oxfam's Gaza staff have seen their homes destroyed and are now running for their lives.
In some contexts, we see hunger happening because of droughts, crop failures. We address hunger in many parts of the world. In Gaza, it's a very specific situation where all of a sudden people are going hungry because the borders are crossed off. So there have been tactics of deliberate deprivation of people, and this affects both food, water, medical supplies. We're talking about hunger as a tactic of war.
With many civilians living on only about a liter of water a day and food running out, aid groups say they expect to see large numbers of children start to die of famine-related diseases such as diarrhea in the coming days. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
Russia once again finds itself at the center of cyber hacking allegations, this time involving the UK. CBC's Abby Kudasan has more.
The British government is accusing Russia's security service of being involved in a sustained cyber hacking campaign in the UK. It accuses one group, dubbed Cold River, of carrying out hundreds of hacks against not only high-profile politicians and civil servants, but academics, journalists, and think tank employees as well. The UK government also says some data linked to the 2019 election was stolen. This was later made public. At this time, it has not been confirmed whether that data breach interfered directly with the democratic process. London has previously accused Moscow of interfering in its domestic affairs, which the Kremlin has denied. Foreign election interference is a major concern in Western capitals, including Ottawa. The United Kingdom will go to the polls at some point in 2024, and the U.S. presidential election is in November next year. There are reports that Washington is also expected to take action against this same group. The British government believes the group is linked to the FSB, that's Russia's security service, and the British Foreign Ministry says the Russian ambassador to the UK has been summoned, and it has also sanctioned 2 individuals, including a serving FSB officer. Abby Kwathausen, CBC News, London.
Grocery bills will continue to climb next year. That's according to a new report released today. Nisha Patel reports.
Shoppers have been doing what they can to stretch their budgets.
Just trying to find different ways to bring in extra income, just to be able to provide for myself.
It has to go down to pastas now and just simple sauces instead of buying chicken.
But I certainly look for items on sale, but it is a big concern.
Over the past 2 years, grocery bills have soared, but 2024 may bring some stability to food prices. The average family of 4 is expected to spend an extra $700 annually.
We are expecting prices to go up, but in a more modest way.
Researchers predict overall food prices will increase 2.5% to 4.5% next year. Dairy and fruit costs could see moderate gains. Baked goods, meat and vegetables may see bigger price increases.
Consumers have less cash than last year, and so they're going to be looking for bargains.
A few packaged food staples like canned goods could actually get cheaper, as many industry challenges have eased.
Input prices, fertilizer prices, raw material prices, even energy prices have all come down a lot.
Still, after 2 years of sticker shock, grocery stores themselves are under intense scrutiny.
Our grocery store industry is a cozy compact between a small number of very big companies, and they were able to take advantage of this situation to fatten their own profits.
Grocery executives have repeatedly been called to Parliament Hill to face questions over rising food prices. Galen Weston is defending the record profits at Loblaws.
That is not an indication of bad practice. It's not an indication of some sort of profiteering. It's just an indication of a business operating exactly the way that it should.
Loblaws and the other big chains insist they're taking action to help consumers. Shoppers hope those price freezes and discounts will help relieve the pressure on their budgets in 2024. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
New cases of COVID-19, flu and RSV are on the rise in Canada. The latest surge has resulted in even longer wait times in some ERs. Lauren Pelly has the details.
At Montreal Children's Hospital, the emergency department was running at more than 150% occupancy for most of November.
It's like 6 hours wait.
We do have a lot of sick children.
Hospital officials are ringing alarms, saying a staffing crunch, a lack of family doctors, and a busy respiratory virus season are creating a perfect storm.
Most patients that are waiting a long period of time usually don't even need to be in the emergency department. If they're waiting very long, usually it's because they should have gone to see a clinic.
This quiet crisis is playing out at hospitals across the country. Wait times at multiple emergency departments in Alberta and Ontario are also hours long. This Toronto emergency physician says for minor issues, try to go to a family doctor.
But if you have chest pain or you have abdominal pain or you're concerned that you're having a stroke or shortness of breath or something that really requires emergency care, these people should come in.
The challenge, she says, is that hospitals are facing the pressure of seasonal illnesses plus COVID-19.
So it's just making a situation that was already always bad in the fall even worse.
Federal data shows flu activity is up, respiratory syncytial virus activity is too, and daily COVID hospitalizations keep rising as well, hitting 4,600 by late November. Add to all of that, health officials in multiple countries warn bacterial infections such as mycoplasma are also making a comeback, causing a resurgence of walking pneumonia. Typically less severe than regular pneumonia, but it can turn serious. The Public Health Agency of Canada told CBC News that labs are already looking out for it.
This is sort of going to be the new norm going forward, that we're going to have this
level of infection.
We sort of have two health crises that are compounding on each other right now and making the situation in hospitals even worse. And we have a long winter ahead.
Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Many writers around the world have been shocked to learn their books were used to train artificial intelligence software. CBC's Valerie Willette reports.
Author Drew Hayden Taylor had no idea.
Wow. My plays, some of my nonfiction, and my novels.
That 9 of his works were part of Books 3, a massive data set used by tech companies to train artificial intelligence.
Well, it's a combination of being flattered and being concerned. Almost all of my income has been derived from royalties. It's literally taking the milk out of my cereal bowl is very, very, very worrying.
A CBC analysis dug into the 190,000 files in Books 3 and found a who's who list of Canadian literature: Margaret Atwood, Alice Munro, Mordecai Richler, Michel Tremblay, Leonard Cohen. Nearly 3/4 of all Giller Prize finalists and Canada Reads contenders. Like you can see almost all of Alice Munro's. Yeah. This technology and law professor says even though these books are all protected by copyright law, it's not clear that their use for data training is illegal.
One of the arguments that's being made is that the training that is being done is really just extracting data points and information from the work as text, rather than really using the works as works.
The Writers' Union of Canada is considering a lawsuit.
I mean, copyright can be very abstract and hard to understand, but I don't think that taking a pirated book from a pirate site and using it for your own industrial purposes, I don't think that's hard to understand that that's wrong.
At least 5 lawsuits mentioning Books 3 and several tech companies were launched in the U.S. Meanwhile, in Canada, the federal government is having its second consultation on AI technology and copyright law in less than 2 years. Valérie Ouellette, CBC News, Toronto.
The federal government rolled out a major climate change initiative today. It's a regulatory framework to cap oil and gas emissions. The sector is an immense source of jobs, but also of greenhouse gas pollution. As CBC's David Thurton reports, some are concerned the plan goes too far, while others say not far enough.
An industry whose emissions know no limits is now facing one.
We're the first country in the world to do this.
The Liberal government revealing its plan to put a lid on some emissions from the oil and gas sector, an industry that accounts for the largest portion of Canada's greenhouse gas pollution.
Are putting into place a cap effectively as a backstop to ensure that companies are actually making the progress that they need to make.
In 2019, oil and gas emissions under the new policy hit 171 megatons. Under the proposed cap, that should fall to at least 112 megatons, a one-third cut enforced by a cap-and-trade system.
What you do is you put a ceiling, a limit on the amount of pollution that a company, or in that case a sector, can emit, and that cap goes down over time.
It took no time, though, for the Alberta government to oppose the measure, saying Ottawa is infringing on its jurisdiction.
There's no question that if they continue on this path, it will end up with court. And I think we will win.
Industry has concerns as well, saying the policy will mean less Canadian oil and gas production.
If Canada blocks the growth of our liquefied natural gas industry or something like that, we are saying to India, to Indonesia, keep burning coal.
While some say it goes too far, environmental groups say it doesn't go far enough.
We are a bit disappointed to see the level that they've set the target at. Now, there is this 60-day consultation period, so we're going to be pushing very hard to see if we can fix that.
Canadians won't see the cap phase in until earliest 2026, meaning the cap will not be fully in place until after the next election. With Conservatives opposing it, it could become an election issue. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
Weather Update is brought to you by the Art and Beauty of the National Ballet of Ukraine. January 29th at the Burton Cummings Theatre. Tickets at nationalballetukraine.com.
Well, John joins us once again. And John, temperatures still remain warm this evening.
Yeah, heading into the evening hours, still well above zero. Here's a look at southern Manitoba and the Winnipeg area. Winnipeg still at 5 degrees right now, and some areas looking like 4s and 5s. We'll head to the maps now, and I'll show you those temperatures. 3 in Selkirk at the moment. It's 4 in Steinbach, 5 in Morris. And yeah, you know, the normal high for the afternoon right now is at -9. So this is really quite unbelievable for December right now. And boy, the overnight lows are warmer than the normal daytime highs as well. 2 in Sprague, we've got a 2 in Brandon and Dauphin, 1 in Swan River, and temperatures out in northwestern Ontario, a 3 in Kenora, 1 in Red Lake. And then across the north, if you're far enough north, you're still in cloud cover, but north of the snow and the rain that's going to move through. Norway House expecting quite a bit of snow. Same with Island Lake tonight and tomorrow. That is a look at the cloud cover. Let's fly you underneath the cloud cover and get you into the forecast here. A few flurries or rain showers possible in Kenora through the evening. And then we could see rain mixed with snow in Red Lake, even some freezing rain overnight. So there is that risk farther north of the freezing rain. The rest of us, a risk of freezing rain, certainly. Generally cloudy conditions. I think for Winnipeg, it'll start as showers with a risk of freezing rain. And by morning, we should start to see that transition into some wet snow or a rain-snow mix. Look at the amounts where that warning is. 10 to 15 centimeters of snow with a risk of freezing rain, 2 to 4 centimeters in Brandon. And then farther north, we've got a 5 to 10 for the Pas and Norway House, snow or freezing rain in Island Lake. And farther north, it is generally just cloudy conditions and lows around -8 to -10. Temperature doesn't rise much tomorrow. There's the further accumulation through Norway House and Island Lake. Island Lake getting 10 to 15 centimeters additional snow tomorrow. For the rest of us, it's just wet snow and windy conditions, and we'll see probably topping out around 8 to 10 centimeters for the Brandon area and about 5 to 10 centimeters here in Winnipeg through the end of the day. but winds will really kick in later in the day out of the northwest, 40 gusting to 60. And for the warmer regions out to the east of us, showers changing to afternoon snow, morning freezing rain changing to snow for Red Lake, and showers or drizzle for Fort Frances and for Dryden.
Thank you very much, John.
You bet.
Royal MTC's main stage will come alive with the sound of music this holiday season. Coming up, we speak with one of the stars of the live musical production in Winnipeg. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. One of the most well-known musicals of all time and a holiday favorite will grace the stage here in Winnipeg. The Sound of Music will be performed live on Royal MTC's main stage till December 23rd. And just about everyone knows the story of the Von Trapp children, their captain father, and the governess sent to take care of them, Maria. The adaptation of the Rogers and Hammerstein's musical is a co-production with Citadel Theatre. Charlie Gallant plays Captain Von Trapp, and Charlie joins me now. Hi there, Charlie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well. Thanks for having me today.
Well, what was it like to be part of a musical that is so beloved and one of the most well-known around the world?
Well, it's interesting from my perspective because I didn't grow up with this musical as a feature in the household. I only saw it for the first time last year, so it's all very new and very fresh to me. And looking at it from the outside in, now I get to understand what it is about the show that has made it last for so long and be so meaningful for so many people.
Yeah. Now, you said that you only saw it for the first time last year. What did you think?
Yeah, I have a very critical eye, so I'm looking at things always as like, oh, I would change this, I would do this. I love that. That brought me to tears. If I ever got a chance to play it, maybe these are some ideas that I would have. And now that I've finally got a chance to team up with some of the best designers in the country and a stellar acting team, I can bring some of those thoughts that I had to fruition, and I'm thrilled with the results.
Now, you are playing Captain Von Trapp, who is, of course, famously portrayed by Christopher Plummer in the film. How did you take the role and make it your own in this production?
Well, I think every actor is going to approach a part from starting from where they are and then trying to figure out how their own stories can work for the stories that are told in the show. But I suppose, I mean, if I could say that there are some similarities with Christopher Plummer and myself in terms of the fact that standing from the outside, myself speaking, and looking at this show, I wasn't a big fan of it at the beginning. And I hear that Christopher Plummer wasn't actually a massive fan of it. And that I know that that's made a couple people a little uncomfortable. But there's by no means do I still feel that way now. I absolutely love this show. But there was a part of making sure that if I'm going to sign up and I'm going to put myself on stage in this show, that I have to buy in 100% and I have to find something in it that's really meaningful to me. And I'm sure that Christopher did that as well. And that's something that I'm proud of too.
Now, why do you think audiences here in Winnipeg will fall in love with this live production of the musical?
This show speaks for itself. It really is very special. You know, the purity of having the amazing children that we have in the show. When you hear their voices, there's no way to deny that that is, you know, the voice of a 5-year-old, which is just something that is very special to hear. As well, we have a live orchestra with us, which allows the music to soar to heights that maybe other productions haven't had the ability to. And I think, you know, putting this story around Christmas time is very special because there are elements of the story that feel very much like, you know, the story of Ebenezer Scrooge, somebody who had much hardship in his life and then had to re-find what it is that makes him believe in love and life again. And it's a similar quality in the story. So it works great as a Christmas story.
Charlie, I want to thank you so much for joining us and can't wait to see you on the stage. Thank you so much again.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Charlie Gallant plays Captain Von Trapp in The Sound of Music at Royal MTC's John Hirsch Main Stage. John is back with your 7-day forecast. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News.
Once again, a look at the weather alerts in effect right now. Snowfall warning for the Dauphin region and through the northern Interlake and out to the east. And this is a freezing rain warning up in the Pas area. This all generally moves west to east across the province tomorrow. By afternoon and evening, we're into the heavier snow, windy conditions here in the Red River Valley. Still windy, cloudy, and much cooler on Saturday, and a -6 high on Sunday. And then next week, only a slight chance of a flurry on Monday. And look how we warm up again by this time next week at +3.
Wow.
And this year you might be fooled into thinking Santa has taken up residence in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, well, in a specific town, on a specific street. Here now is your Daily Lift.
It feels magical when you're driving through and you're starting to see all the Santas and they're all lit up. It brings that kid feeling back.
When you saw all the Santas, did you get a smile on your face? Most people said yes.
So originally we saw this in Toronto a few years back. There was a street there that did something very similar. In this community, somebody who lives around here decided to pull together in the Colby South group on Facebook and decide to say, hey, we should replicate this and make it part of a charity.
Everybody was like, yes, like immediately, yes, let's do it. People were going to Costco, coming home with carts of them. There's at least 127 so far.
So the sign when you come into our community usually says Colby South, which is a small community in Cole Harbour. But this time of year, we changed the name to Colby North. There's a QR code, and if you were to take a picture of that, you can donate towards Feed Nova Scotia.
Because we're collecting money for the people who are living in tents and for people who are having a hard time with food.
I hope we can get over 10,000. We started with a $500 goal in mind. That was our first goal, and we hit it so fast that we just kept raising it and raising it and raising it. So we're at 6,000, who knows?
The response from the community has been beyond what we ever expected. We thought this would be a pretty cool sight to have some Santas up and, add to the Christmas spirit, but the giving back to Feed Nova Scotia has been absolutely incredible.
It's so special for the kids because, this is Christmas spirit. This is getting everyone together. The kids love it. We got a Santa. Like when we were all getting the Santas, they were all telling each other, we got one too. So yeah, the kids just love it.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
A lot of fun at the same time raising for a good cause.
People finding some really interesting ways to raise money for people who really need help at this time of year.
Yeah, that's what I love about this time of year, is the creativity and the kindness, of course, of folks. Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for joining us. We'll see you back here at 11 o'clock.
See you later.